I have chosen to do my presentation based on the world's first combat photographer, Szachmari. He is a war photographer as well as a painter, lithographer and an artist. He was born in Hungary on the 11th of January 1812 and died on the 3rd of July 1887 in Romania. Szachmari produced photographs of the Russian-Turkish War, which is now known as the Crimean War. This war was a military conflict in which an alliance of Great Britain, Turkey and France fought against Russia in October 1853. The war continued for 2.5 years, ending in February 1856. The Crimean War occurred because, under Turkish control, Russia expanded into New region, which is today known as Romania. This began the war between Russia and Turkey in October 1853. In 1854, France and Britain became involved in the war out of fear due to the Russian expansion. Britain was scared because they felt as though Russia would continue to expand, eventually leading them to expand in British India through Afghanistan. On the other hand, Russia raised an issue based on holy sites in Christianity, such as Jerusalem and Bethlehem being under the Turkish control. The war came to an end in September 1855 when the Russians evacuated Sevastopol following a storm of the vital Malakahov bastion by French troops, meaning Russia had given in and began to move towards peace talks. The Treaty of Paris was then signed on the 30th of March 1856. As a result of this, part of the treaty was that the Russian naval base was supposed to have been run down to reduce Russian power in the Black Sea. However, it never happened. Britain and France were soon no longer strong enough to make it happen, and therefore increased tensions between both countries. In addition to this, not all of the problems went away. Turkey and Russia went to war once again in 1877, but this time Britain and France stayed out of it. Szachmari is considered to be the world's first combat photographer. Before developing his passion for photography, he studied painting and engraving, which were two popular arts of that time period. In 1848, Szachmari began to experiment with photography, and he then went on to take photographs of the Crimean War in 1854. It is said that in April 1854, Szachmari filled a van with his cameras and glass plates and went to the border of Danube to document the fighting between the Russian and Turkish armies. This was from an article about him on Monoscope. The result of Szachmari's bravery and hard work was a photo album, which contained 200 images of the Crimean War. This album became famous due to the presentation at the Paris World Exhibition in 1855. He was awarded the second-class medal for his work, and from then on, photography, lithography and painting were always closely linked to his career. There were other photographers shooting this war. These photographers were Roger Fenton, William Russell and Ludwig Dürer. Szachmari produced many other pieces of famous work, which included martial compositions and albums, which were large series of pictures with politicians, artisans, gypsies, peasants and merchants. Another one of his most famous pieces of work was chronicled art photography in Romania, titled Photography Parisienne, which appeared in the Venice magazines. His last major piece of work was produced on the 10th and 11th of May in 1881, which was titled King Carol's Coronation Pageant. This chromolithographic album of the symbolic carts which paraded around the capital city. In 1863, he received the title of Ruling Prince's Court Painter and Photographer, which he kept for the rest of his life. The official painter followed his patron, Prince Carol I, on the battlefield during the Russian-Romanian-Ottoman War of 1877. In my opinion, I think that the photos are very strong in the sense that they link to telling the story of the war. It is a shame that the majority of his images were lost and there were never any copies saved. It seems as though he is a very well-known photojournalist and his work never went unrecognised. My favourite image of his is the one where all the soldiers are pointing their guns in the same direction. I would say that this brings across a strong sense of composition. Linking back to the war, I think that Szachmari captured the severeness of the war and how well the soldiers worked together as a team. In conclusion, I would say that overall, this is one of the most important photojournalists of all time because he was one of the first war photographers. Although the Crimean War may not be as well known as many others which has occurred, it still lasted for a long time, and Karol Szachmari managed to capture it in a unique way and was also awarded for his hard work during his lifetime.